Is today 3rd? Yes. Okay. We shall start. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwarah Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shrutismati Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Namami Gauda Padancha Shankaram Sri Sureshwaram Swaminam Satchidanandam Indram Tam Jnana Rupine. Om Narayan. Yeah, we were discussing Dharma, the Shambhuka Vadha, the slaying or killing of Shambhuka. In these things, one we have to remember, as I yesterday discussed, Dharma. Our idea of Dharma is same. For them, revelation is is one. See, whether for the Abraham religion, first religion, second religion or third religion. First Abraham 1, Abraham 2, Abraham 3. Of these three religions, revelation is once. Because the first Abrahamic religion, just for contrast I am touching a few points. Just for the first Abraham religion, whatever revealed, they become outdated for the second religion. Second Abraham religion, they become outdated. Certain basic forms they take, that the God is one and He sends His prophet, that there is a covenant, a few things. But many things are outdated. So, outdated means what? Whatever is revealed in the second, that is the New Testament, that alone is that abrogates the previous one, means makes the previous ones as outdated, and the present becomes eternally applicable. Eternally applicable until the end of the world. End of the world means until the day when Pralaya takes place. Even for the third Abraham religion also, the book is a final book. So this final book is, there is no second revelation. And you have to take literally, anything that is revealed is applicable for all time. Now if you say that how a kafir should be treated, now our people, Hindus, are misunderstanding one important thing. How they have to be treated is not, our Hindus are Hindu intellectuals, unable to read the whole book. How they are interpreting is, it was stated in a given context alone. No. Whatever is stated about a person, it applies throughout the book and for all the time to come. It is not a tentative revelation. Because revelation, they say, is a God's word. How can the God's word be relevant to one time and not relevant to other? They say it is for all time to come. Desha Kala Dharma is not there. You are not to interpret it and make your own meaning. Once it is said that it is there, that's all. It is for all time to come. So, if you are unable to follow certain things, if you are unable to follow because you are living in a non-Abrahamic country, where non-Abrahamic people are majority, or they have adopted a constitution without taking into consideration our religious holy book, therefore tentatively we are in minority, they tolerate for tentatively. But once they get a chance, the conducive atmosphere, that alone should be applied for all. But for us, so keeping this in view, our people are imagining all religions are same is such a biggest, is an illusion. Not only the biggest illusion, the greatest foolishness and highest foolishness and greatest harm. See, biggest illusion, greatest highest foolishness and greatest harm it is doing. You remember this thing. Because what is different, you are interpreting from a narrow angle and it is doing a great harm to our Shastras. So, whatever was done, whatever was stated in one place, we don't say that is universal. For example, say, once Shambhuka was killed there. Now what they are interpreting? Followers of Ambedkar or even many others, non-Ambedkar Hindus also. What they are interpreting is, if again Hindu Rashtra comes, Shambhuka, like all Shudras will be killed now. All Shudras will be killed. Now, is it a revelation that Rama killed it, therefore everybody must be killed? For example, whatever Prophet Muhammad did, that becomes a law for them. This point Vivekananda also told. What Jesus did, what Prophet Muhammad did, the law follows. Law means dharmic law, the religious law. The religious law comes from their behavior. For us, what Rama did, Krishna did, that doesn't constitute dharma. What is dharma is decided independently from the Shastra, Veda and the Shastras. Then that dharma Rama happens to follow, therefore it becomes a dharma. See, dharma is not determined from Rama's behavior, from Sri Krishna's behavior, or from Pandava's behavior. We don't say whatever in whatever context Rama did, that becomes a universal law. Rama killed Vali standing behind a tree, hiding himself behind a tree. Therefore, that becomes a universal law. Hereafter in any war, does it become a normal law? War law? I mean, rules about a code of war for Hindus? No, it doesn't become. For them, whatever Prabhupada Muhammad did in a particular context, so therefore, they say two revelation. Quran is one revelation. Another is Hadith is another revelation. Revelation in the behavior of Prophet Muhammad. Therefore, they have a two revelation. They record them. The Hadith, you must have seen mainly two Hadiths. There are many more Hadiths. Some people say the other Hadiths are controversial. Many people don't accept. But for the terrorists and certain people accept those also. There are 4 or I think 6 Hadiths. Out of them 2 are unanimously accepted by all the Muslims all over the world indisputably. Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. So these 2 Hadiths also are accepted unanimously. So we leave them partially accepted Hadiths. We take these 2. So whatever is stated in these 2 are also equal to Quran. Now just a contrast to show how our Shastras have to be understood. I am just comparing. I don't mean any what you call demean them or criticize them negatively or anything. Just to show how we have misunderstood our Shastras. So our Shastras, Dharma doesn't follow for Rama's behavior. Now this is books and volumes are coming. Again if Hindus become dominant, again if there is a Hindu Rashtra, there is a danger to lower caste people. They all lower caste people, Antyajas, Harijans and all those people become united. Resist this Hindu this thing, because you will be killed. See how the missionaries started, communists embellished it, and it has been repeated by Ambedkar Vadis and many others also. Now, so Hindus also start thinking, oh, is it true? Hindus only listen what they have become interpreters. They have become Agasthyas, Valmikis and Vedavyasas. Hindus are only consumers of their teaching. I say you give up that. You learn your Shastras, you become your own gurus by learning, after learning, not before learning. You learn first our Shastras. Okay. So you start listening to them. Because some people start telling, there is one Swami in Andhra, even now he is alive. Ambedkar is a Rishi, somebody told. Probably he wants to praise him and get a good name. We don't know what is his purpose. Or in what sense he called him Rishi, he himself has to explain. So, these name tags create a confusion to Hindu society. We start thinking that, oh my God, must be great. See, what this Shambhuka Vada, I tell you, you just read bare text whatever is written in Valmiki Ramayana in 2 adhyayas. I think it is, what is that? It starts with 73, 73, 74, 75. 76th chapter is only first 20 shlokas alone. Even 73 is not much. 74, 75, mainly 2. Out of them, 74th chapter alone is more important. 74 alone, he is talking. Now, that's why I am discussing all the 74th chapter. Openly Narada says, see, in Treta Yuga, this is applicable. In Dwapara, all 3 castes get entitled to tapas. Once Kali Yuga comes, all 4 varnas. That means in Kali Yuga, nobody is left out. All Hindu societies equally entitled for tapas. Don't they see this? Or they want to deliberately hide it and distort it? When you know clearly our Indian people are blindly following the Western, some of the prejudiced. Okay, out of the Western Indologists, a few exceptions are very good people. They have done. But in these things, I think they have not done much. Probably they don't know, or they thought it is unimportant, they have left out. A few points they were good. But in general I am talking. See, whenever you say everything, each person you can't say. We have to generalize. When we have to generalize, there are always few exceptions. So sometimes we mention, sometimes we may not mention. But we have to understand it is generalization. General means there are always few exceptions. We always acknowledge them with all honor, with all respect, with wholeheartedly, sincerely. We accept them, respect them. Otherwise, each time you put exception, it becomes so complicated. The listener gets bored and confused. What is it? Each point you say, you yourself contradict it. So, do you mean or not? This becomes a confusion. So, in a general sense, when we say understand, it is a generalized sense, Allah, in a general sense. In a general means few exceptions are accepted. Generalize means what? Exceptions are ignored, hidden, suppressed. Only this alone is branded. Generalizing is a branding. Okay. Exceptions are ignored. I am not ignoring the exceptions. So, and in Shambhuka case, I think, anyway, I have not read many books. Some of them only I have read. So I have not seen Indologists have done anything positively here. Because first thing is they don't understand Indian Varna system at all. It is totally alien to them. So only Hindus alone should be in a better position to explain, not they. Okay. So they say now they have been presenting that some of the missionaries, they took it a chance. This is important. Now they say, see, they are threatening Hindu woman. Say, if you marry a Hindu, you remain Hindu, you will be each time tested, Agni Pariksha. You are asked for Agni Pariksha. And Shudras and other classes, lower class people, see, once it becomes a Hindu Rashtra, you will be killed. You will be killed for no reason. Killing, and now they present it like that. Just as in their religion, killing an unbeliever is a virtuous karma, is a punya karma for them. The punya word they don't have, but it is a God-pleasing karma. It is a religious act. But for us, just for no reason killing a Shudra or a Harijan or a Antyaja, is it a punya karma? Does our Shastra say, for no reason, if you happen to see Antyaja, go and kill him, you will get punya. You will have a special place in heaven. Do our Shastras say anywhere? Now, how we are so much conditioned, we read those books. Even if we don't read, those ideas are propagated so much. See, they propagate about themselves and also present a lot of negativity about this thing. I think Hindus are overwhelmed with a negative interpretation of Hinduism. We know much more of that negative interpretation than original. More than the original Mahabharata. Lot of them are later, interpolated means they are not part of Sanskrita Mahabharata. In the name of Pandavas, lot of stories spun out later, some of the poets, and they have created, because Hindus get a freedom. You can write a poem taking a one Mahabharata episode event and can write a poem. You can do it in a poetic way, but in the name of that poetic license, they distort the character. They put Karna is a great man. You can see them regarding the Karna. They made him divine. Oh, Avatara Purusha. They don't call Avatara. They made him so great that he is as good as an Avatara. And they started making Yudhishthira such a cheap, petty villain like your TV Mahabharata. Looks very sad, pitiable Yudhishthira. And Karna looks such a great man. So, these later stories, embellished, falsely created, fabricated stories become so popular, and partly by Harikathas and partly by even Pravachanakaras also create lot of stories. Lot of stories. Just to highlight one point, you start using Mahabharata events alone. Mahabharata characters you use and highlight it. You use Hanuman for Vairagyam to say the Vairagyam. Hanuman had a terrible anger. Shall I tell you one simple event? They say Hanuman went there to see Sita. After seeing it, he saw the Ashokavana, and he went and talked to Sita. Why your flowers in Ashokavana, all the flowers are red alone? He asked Hanuman. Sita laughed, because Sita is a Brahmagyani, Avatara. So everybody is Ajnani. See, these are all Vedantins interpretations of Ramayana. So they can interpret, but why use Ramayana characters alone to run down somebody and then create a good quality? See, they could use another imaginary characters. So all our imaginary characters are imposed on Ramayana only, Ramayana and Mahabharata. So this Indians know, those who come in the tradition, these are all Kalpita stories we know. But in a later time, Hindus' general knowledge is becoming less, Shastra Jnana is becoming less, and our mainly, hostile people, intentionally, motivatedly hostile, they are compiling all these cock and bull stories, and they are putting these are real stories. They are popularizing it, only these stories. Say, Hanuman says that I am seeing all red flowers alone. Sita laughs, it seems, according to this cock and bull story, fabricated story, which Pravachanakaras, Vedanta Pravachanakaras say. See, you are angry with Ravana. Sita doesn't have anger. Sita forgives, sees everybody as God alone, Paramatma. See, this is how they present. So therefore, Sita sees everything as Brahman alone. And it is Hanuman alone, is an ordinary human being. Sita is a divine goddess. Therefore, Hanuman sees terribly angry. Sita laughs and tells, see, the flowers are not bad, red, they are of multiple colors, because there is an anger in you against Ravana. Hanuman is carrying anger against Ravana, but Sita is relaxed and quiet and looking at Ravana. See, this is all for Vedantic standpoint, Vairagya is okay. But they create this story in the name of Sita and Hanuman. So those who are well versed with Ramayana, those who have been listening, they understand this story is not in the Ramayana. These Pravachanakaras, these speakers, in order to highlight some Vairagyam, how whatever is in your mind, the same thing you see outside. If your mind is filled with anger, you see anger outside. Just to highlight this point, they put it in the name of Hanuman. But Hanuman himself is a great Jnani, great Virakta, great man. No, they just ignore it. They want to use Puranic characters and highlight some point. So, but in India, the scholars know, common people, some of them know, some of them may not know, but doesn't matter. This being an internal society, we managed it somehow. Now the missionaries come, they collect all these stories, they compile them, write them, they use them. Now they propagate among Hindus these stories, and real Ramayana nobody knows, because regularly listening to Ramayana, complete Ramayana, shloka by shloka, I am asking people, have you ever heard complete Ramayana shloka by shloka? Have you read or have you heard from Guru Mukha? From Gurus, at least tentative, summer holidays, etc., 2 months, 3 months we have, or at least Chaitra Masa comes, at least during those summer, 3 months, a fast reading of Ramayana and then explaining the important events. Listen, let all our youngsters, boys and girls, just to go through entire Ramayana. Or teach, let a speaker, you call the speaker, he will read fast and certain descriptions will be there, repetitions will be there. He can skip the repetitions and the essential points he will tell. In 3 months you will get one idea of complete Ramayana. Then Mahabharata will take 2 to 3 years and Bhagavata will take 1 or 2 years. Like this, at least in 5 years let our Hindus complete it. So we have no idea. We cannot make out these fabricated stories and these things. the kavis, poets, just to make a sensational like our films do, just for sake of sensation create, they change the stories and telecast. And we think that this TV Ramayana writer is a Vedavyasa. We set aside our Vedavyasa and listen to this TV Mahabharata as a Vedavyasa. So all Hindus' knowledge of, because I have been seeing Hindus, when they come and discuss with me, they boldly, confidently, they argue with me, they challenge me, they refute me, they say, yes, Ravana was a Shiva Bhakta, and this thing, all this thing. I say, where is this all? Yes, Ravana is Shiva Bhakta. I say, where did you read? Yes, I read it, I know it well. He says, where? Where did you read? I challenge it. He shows the film, Telugu film. I said, Telugu film is an entertainment. That fellow will distort the character as he likes to make sensation. When he said it, oh, he said, but this is what it... Your knowledge is only from films. Films are only irresponsible people to create sensation. They do them. Have you studied directly from Shastras? So, for other religions like Abraham religions, they protect. No over-interpretations. No poetic interpretations, their character of their stories. If you write a Kadambari, if you write anything, immediately the books will be banned. They ask them to ban them. Don't over-interpret. Don't give outside interpretations. Whatever our Shastras say, written as it is. Don't extra interpretation. They protect it. Hindus give a freedom. But we had our own way of protecting in spite of freedom. When the tradition was a living tradition, when everybody was regularly listening to Ramayana, Mahabharata, they say this is Avalmikiya. This is not there in the Valmiki Ramayana. Therefore, it is only Kalpita. Kalpita means we understand this story is created to highlight one point. Don't take that is an actual event of Hanuman's life. Hanuman got angry and therefore he saw all flowers are red. This was only created story to highlight. There, don't take the story seriously as an event actual, but there it is only any angry person sees everything red. Whatever is in your mind, the same anger you see outside. Just all this is to be highlighted. Don't say Hanuman really had that feeling and then this thing. They say this is not there in Ramayana. Therefore, when the living tradition, everybody was listening to Puranas, we understood them. And they say also, don't take this event seriously. This is not an event. This is a Kalpita. Now when people are less and less reading Ramayana, Mahabharata and all these Shastras, Puranas, we ourselves don't know. And we start taking... Now another thing is, for them every story is a historical. There is everything historical, Bible historical, Quranic historical. That historicity they are imposing. Is it historical? Now they play double way. One side they say your Ramayana is not historical. They criticize our Bible is historical. Jesus was historical. Rama was not historical. Whether historical, we started worshipping Rama not based upon history. Maybe historical, may not be historical. We never looked at that side. We took that value, an embodiment of avatara, embodiment of a truth. Embodiment and avatara of the truth. We worship the truth through Rama and then that's the values. Rama is an embodiment of values. We follow the values and then reach moksha. That's enough. So historicity may be there, may not be there. Maybe, okay, we didn't take it seriously. We were not serious about it. We just left it open-ended. Therefore, they sometimes use it as a historicity to say that it is not historical. But when they want to accuse us, see, Rama killed Shambhuka. Therefore, they say for their books, if once it is revealed, you can't remove it. For us, many events in Ramayana, Mahabharata, what Rama did, you need not do. What Pandavas did, that they married one woman, all 5 people, that doesn't become a dharma for all people, that hereafter everybody marries only one woman, 5 people marrying. We don't call it dharma. See, because their situation is different, Veda Vyasa explains the reason. So this is purely our Dharma Shastra. Study our Dharma Shastra. We only blindly follow. First thing is, we leave our interpretation to them. Even now, volumes and volumes of English books are coming. And Hindus start reading more of all these English medium fellows, read only English books. There are Sanskrit commentaries, see. Here is it. Tilaka commentary. Where did I put it? Tilaka commentary. Here itself anyway. Tilaka commentary. Why don't we read? Tilaka commentary is there. We have got plenty of Sanskrit commentaries. Thing is, we just don't know. We go by only these English Britishers, I mean Indologists explanations, commentaries, and then we repeat. Or our people also read those books alone and repeat it. So there is a clear explanation, a clear difference, and we should be aware of. Okay. Therefore, Rama did it in a particular. Rama did it for Kruta Yuga. The same Narada who asked him, prevent this problem, punish him, so that this boy who died will wake up, will come back to life. So when Rama killed it, it is a one case, special case. So here, immediately in Dwapara Yuga, even Vaishya gets it. In Kali Yuga means what? In the last 5,000 years, all four castes, including Chandala, everybody is entitled for tapas. Where is the quarrel? Tell me. Why don't they see clear? You see? Bhavishyat Shudrayonyam hi tapascharya kalau yuge. In Kali Yuga, it is a same 64th, 74th adhyaya, 27th shloka. Okay? Bhavishyat Shudrayonyam vai tapaschari kalau yuge. In Dwapara Yuga, tapo vaishyan samavishat, 25th shloka. Tapo vaishyan samavishat. In Dwapara Yuga, Vaishyas are also entitled for tapas. Then in Kali Yuga, all the four. Now, when did Kali Yuga start? All this little earlier, later. That what you say, the period of yugas, where it is, that's a different issue, and there is a controversy. We leave them. But wherever it is, definitely we admit it was much. It is much before what you say BC. At least 1,000 to 2,000 years BC, Kali Yuga. This much we can say. Generally, we say Pandavas. Pandavas is a Kali. When were Pandavas and Sri Krishna born? Some people say 2000 BC, 3000 BC. Somewhere it is not in the recent time. Definitely we can say 3000. Presently you can take from the 20th century before. In the last 3000 we can say definitely. Traditionally if you go 5000, Kali Yuga, we have passed 5000s of Kali Yuga, 5000 years. Some people say modern research and all okay if you admit them. If you admit them by concession, let us take okay 3000. But even 3000 is not small period. In the last 3000 period, all people are equally entitled to Kali. Now where is the quarrel now? Why they say if Hindu Rashtra comes again you will be killed? What is this? Why Hindus don't study for ourselves? Why do we want to be disciples of these misinterpreting Western Indologists? And then the maligned, Rama is maligned. Oh my God, how many books, how many volumes I myself have seen. Volumes after volumes. In the talks, there is a spitting venom on this thing. Rama is a terrible. And even in the riddles of Ramayana, all these are there. The riddles of Ramayana has become a standard textbook more than Veda for Ambedkar followers. Now, at least the government of Maharashtra wants to publish. They should have published Ambedkar's books, all other books, but this book they should have left out. No, they published it, this also, as a standard book. And this is translated into other languages. Everybody is supposed to read. More than Valmiki Ramayana, this is more standard. Now the time has come that critique of Ramayana is more standard than the Valmiki himself. Don't you see that? Am I correct or am I exaggerating, or out of hatred I am creating something? You see, nobody reads Valmiki Ramayana. More than Valmiki Ramayana, their misinterpretation has become so standard that they are more valid than Valmiki himself. They are more. Everybody is talking. I can tell you so many events in these things. I am just giving one example and leave you. Otherwise, it will go for 1 month or even more than 1 month. I can give you plenty of events from Ramayana only. One fellow says, anyway, I have touched it, I will give you one example. One fellow says, it was not Ravana's mistake in kidnapping Sita. Sita crossed Lakshman Rekha. It is a Sita who violated the law. Ravana did not violate law. Ravana did not violate dharma. It is Sita who violated Lakshman Rekha. Therefore, Sita should be punished, not Ravana. You know who says that? The person who acted as a TV Ramayana's Ravana. Allah. The person who acted as a Ravana in the TV Ramayana, in his personal life, this is what he says. No, it is not the question of Ravana. I'm telling he's an educated man, highly educated man, and he's a Brahmana. And this is the view he holds it. See, somebody comes to your house. A thief enters your house. So you forgot to bolt your house or something happened. So that fellow knocked. You don't know, you could not recognize the voice, and thinking that your friend, you opened the door. Yeah, the owner of the house went out of station. The children and other servants and other people at home were staying home. The owner of the house told, I am not going to come back tonight, so be assured and then bolt it and don't open the door anybody comes. Even if anybody comes, don't open the door until tomorrow. He gave strict instructions and went away. These people thought that, okay, the owner of the house, the head of the house will come back. They have been dreaming because they love him and they sleep. So night when they saw the knocking of the door, hear the knocking of the door, they thought, oh, probably he might have come. So in that over-enthusiasm, they opened it. Now, that fellow entered it and robbed the all property and went away. Now you go to the court. This the person who acted as a TV Ravana. You know what is his logic? He instructed, don't open the door, don't open the bolt. It is they opened it. It is not the mistake of thief. Thief has every right to rob. It is the owner's mistake that they opened the door. What a logic. No, I am not blaming him as a person, only as an example, that event. Thing is, this is a common Indian thinking, I am telling. I am not blaming a person. He might be a good person in his life. And this is only one point, his view I am talking. How these views are prevalent. Even sincere people, highly educated people talk funnily, foolishly like this. We have lost Viveka. We have become confused about what is dharma, adharma. Whole dharma, adharma, there is a tremendous confusion in India. Tremendous confusion in India about dharma, adharma. I feel I should leave Vedanta and speak on Ramayana, Mahabharata alone to the whole India. I should travel all over India and teach only Ramayana, Mahabharata, then Vedanta. Because whole India is confused. I should teach them only Ramayana. But people say, oh, Ramayana, others can teach, Swamiji teach Vedanta. But this is where I have no time. What can I do? So this is to see how much of confusion it is. So that means what is dharma, adharma? There is no confusion. Everybody talks like that. I am very surprised. See, the Indian mindset has come to such a thing. I am not joking it. It is a really serious problem with Hindu society. Our Hindu psyche has suffered so much. We have lost Viveka. Can I give you one more example? There is a thief was arrested. A story. It is a story. And thief was arrested and he has to be punished. Not punished. He was to be hanged till death. So just a few days were left out. And he asked, what is your last wish? And he told, I want to talk to your people of your country, people of your kingdom, or your, Rajdhani, your capital city. King arranged it. I want to talk to in front of them. He arranged it. Then the minister and commander-in-chief, army commander-in-chief, king and the public of the capital city, many people were sitting there. The thief was brought along with the police. In those days, police means police of those days, ancient days. And then, then the thief was allowed to speak. And he says, is there anybody of you who has not committed theft? Tell me. Any single person. Just raise your hands. In your life, you have never committed a theft. Then everybody is ashamed. Nobody raised their hands. Then he asked the king, sir, your excellency, can you say that you have never committed theft in your life? King says that no, I can't say, because in my childhood, my mother kept a sweet somewhere secretly, and without my knowledge I took it and ate. Therefore I committed theft in my childhood. Then Mantri was asked. Probably king thought that, I have committed theft. Ask the Mantri. Mantri also felt ashamed. He says, I also did some mischief like this, some committed theft. Then nobody raised the hand, commander-in-chief all. Now the thief says that, when everybody is a thief, why I alone am punished? The king felt ashamed and released him. My God, this is the story you teach the children? Is there no difference between a child committing a theft in his childhood days and a person, grown-up person, knowingly that this is a wrong and still he commits it? What an audacity that thief has got to challenge everybody and say that everybody is a thief and why I am punished. Huh? They have committed, but are they defending their theft? That too in their childhood, in their unknown days, innocent days, ignorant stage of life. See how the thief. Now seeing this thing, not only the king left him, king made him the prime minister. I was shocked. What is this story? No, I don't want to blame. Sorry, forgive me. Shall I tell you the source? No, I want to tell you the source not because I want to malign them. They are all very great people, very learned. In fact, I learnt many things from them only. So I have got all my Guru Bhava with my respect to them. Thing is, some of the wrong thinkings, we Indian society has lost the Viveka, that we are spreading these false stories among us. I read in an Aurobindo literature in a Sanskrit story book published by Aurobindo Ashram. And they say that the story was stated by Aurobindo's mother. So I am not blaming them. They are all very great people, highly great Rishi-like people. Aurobindo and his mother and all. But some of the stories unconsciously, how they enter into all, that's why I am telling all Indian great people also presenting wrong stories. Probably they were not aware, or they want to highlight one aspect and they ignored another aspect of it. If the children learn this story, they lose the viveka of what is dharma, adharma. So the thief should be made as a prime minister. A conscious thief who defends his theft should be made as a prime minister. Huh? So this is, I can give you examples anywhere, not only in them. I am just taking their name as an example. Anywhere you find, even among the people, our traditional people also, many wrong stories, many adharmic stories. So we have lost somewhere that viveka of dharma, adharma, using all wrong stories. So therefore I say, let us learn this viveka. What Rama did, they clearly say, it is a Treta Yuga. It is a Treta Yuga, and the reason also clearly stated. All cost, by living, by serving other people, Brahmanas, like a Gurukula, they are also entitled to go to heaven. All caste are entitled to go to heaven if they follow their dharma. Vedanga say, Mahabharata says, I don't remember now, I have noted down all the shlokas. All the shlokas say, all caste when they follow their dharma, and Samanya dharma, Satya Ahimsa is common for all. Satya Ahimsa common dharma, and your professional duty, that means your Varna dharma. Also sincerely if you follow, everybody commonly entitled to go to Swarga. So this is a common rule. So therefore Shudra is also entitled to go to heaven. But this Shudra specially wants to go to heaven physically with this body alone. To go with this body requires to be extraordinarily divine. This body has to become extra divine. And you see, our body comes due to past janma. Our Shastra says our body comes due to past janma. Past punya papa, you get this body, Devata Sharira, Manusha Sharira, either what you call divine body, Rishi body, or the Manusha Sharira, or even animal body. So even that bodies also, again there is a punya papa difference varies. Cow's body is a more punya compared to other animals. Cow life is due to, even among the animals, the life of cow requires extra punya compared to other animals. Even among the animals, lower and higher, depending upon the punya. So here you can see, Brahmanatvam or Varna is of threefold. Adi Bhautika Brahmana, Adi Daivika Brahmana, Adhyatmika Brahmana. Adhyatmika Brahmana means a person who has got Vairagyam, who is spiritually advanced, who becomes a Brahmajnani. He is a Adhyatmika Brahmana. Adi Daivika Brahmana means one who takes the Upanayana, Vedic mantra, repetition, and that Vedic life. He does the rituals and the Devata Upasana. You do the Upasana, take mantra diksha, and do in such a way that you got at least a partial mantra siddhi, that the Devatas will be pleased with your mantra power, your yajna power. You can do rituals, you can do mantras, that along with it there are certain, that means Upasana diksha you have done a continuous Upasana for a length of time, then the Devata Anugraha comes to you. Here there are many Devatas, many mantras. There again, one mantra, one devata follows one discipline, another devata, another mantra follows another discipline. That's why you can see different upasanas follow different discipline. You can't take diksha for one upasana and start practicing another upasana. For each upasana, you have to take separate diksha. For certain upasanas, certain people are qualified. For certain upasanas, certain people are qualified. So in this Adidaivika upasana alone, we don't have one God, one sadhana like in other religion, Abrahamic religion, isn't it? We have got multiple gods, multiple upasanas, multiple rules. Each upasana follows certain rule, isn't it? And you are supposed to follow those discipline with reference to that upasana. When there are many upasanas, so a person who may be Siddha Purusha in one upasana, but he can't be accepted in another upasana. See. So there also, this much of variety is there. Then so there, a person does upasana is called Adi Daivika Brahmana. There if he does the Vedic Diksha, Vedic mantras and etc. Pauranika mantras, Pauranika upasana also he can do. He may have the upasana siddhi, but there also is a difference. Okay. Now, Adi Bhautika Sharira is this body born of that jati parents alone. That Varna parent, if it's born of that Brahmana Varna parents, it is the Adi Bhautika Brahmanyam. So Adhyatmika Brahmana, anybody can get it. See, in those days, people of lower caste means our Shudra or even Antyaja caste, they were not competing to become Brahmanas. Social Brahmana. These days people want higher position. So it is all social competition. You want money and power, status, money and power and status. They were more trying to be Brahmavit. Brahmavit means Adhyatmika Brahmana. See, physical birth is a birth. Each one is born in particular caste. That is okay. They accepted. They felt proud of their caste. Each caste feels proud of their own caste. Nobody feels inferior that, oh, I am born in lower caste. Each person feels proud of his own caste. Therefore, it is Adhyatmika Brahmana. If they are capable, if they are interested, they will learn Adhyatmikata. That's why in Adhyatmika Brahmana, anybody, even among the Chandalas, there are Brahmajnanis. Anybody could achieve. Therefore, they felt very proud to become, in fact, they felt proud of their caste and also they are proud of their own Adhyatmika, progress, spiritual progress. And people of other caste also respected them for spiritual progress. That Adhyatmika Brahmanyam, Adhyatmika Brahmanatva. Because nobody can stop it. That is inwardness, your vairagyam, your detachment from the world, your self-control, and then egolessness, go to your jnana. So Adhyatmika Brahmanyam nobody can stop. And that is, therefore, sometimes in the Upanishads, when Brahmana they talk of, the Brahmana is two different. One is a Vaidika, Upasana, Janma, and also the third one is Adhyatmika. So sometimes the Brahmana word is commonly used. Therefore some people say, Brahma Janati Brahmana. One who knows Brahma Jnanam alone is Brahmana, others are not. I say, where is this interpretation? These are all European Indologist interpretation. Where did you get this thing? These are all pervert interpretations which are just... So, in some context, the Brahmana word is used in Adhyatmika sense, that is in Jnani sense. There the Jnani sense. Now they are just generalizing it. Generalizing it in the whole tradition, all books, all Shastras will be abandoned. The interpretation which the modern fellows are giving, like RSS and RS Samaj and all these people, all this goes against all Shastras will have to be dismissed. All Shastras, right from the Vedas to the present day, can you dismiss the whole culture out of date and then start newly? This is a ridiculous thing. This is Islam and Christianity, they reject the previous one. They start a new religion. We don't have such thing. We continue the past. Ours is always continuity. We don't break from the past. In Hindu religion, we never break. We always continue. We reinterpret and continue. Reinterpreted according to Deshakala and continue. We never break from the past. If suppose in Krishna Avatara comes, Rama Avatara outdated. Now whoever worships Rama will go to hell. Do we say that? If Krishna Avatara came, earlier Avataras are exhausted. Earlier prophet, Jesus came, earlier Moses is outdated. Now only have to believe Jesus to go to heaven. If you believe Moses, you will go to hell. Then the Prophet Muhammad came. If you believe Jesus, you will go to hell. Only all this is outdated. Do we have such thing like that? If you come, Rama Avatara comes, earlier Vamana Avatara, Narsimha Avatara, you can't worship. If you worship, you will go to hell. We just don't have that. Even after Krishna Avatara comes, Buddha Avatara comes, still Narasimha can be worshipped. Still anybody can be worshipped. Vamana and everybody is equally God. You can worship Narasimha Bhakta and you can go to heaven, or you can go to Vaikuntha. So nothing outdated. Okay. Nothing is outdated. Nothing is stretched. Whatever stated in one, he killed Sambhuka. Therefore all Hindus are, all Brahmanas, all kings are supposed to kill Shudras now for no reason. This kind of generalization, we are bodily importing European interpretation. Okay. You understand our way. Purely our way. Don't yield to them. I don't know. Mine is a, out of crores of interpretations, my voice is a isolated. Oh, you see them, the libraries are filled, magazines, newspapers, speakers, even the Facebook, everywhere is filled is only this interpretation. This which I am criticizing, that interpretation alone is filled. Mine is isolated. I don't know how many people can listen to me, my talk. It's a very rare. So this is the thing. Now so it is a Yuga Dharma, and Yuga Dharma we already explained what is a Yuga Dharma. There is a social system. There is a collective psychology. If one person goes extremely, that's why we always needed change. These days they call it reform. Reform, what does the reform mean? Reform means earlier Shastra was wrong and we are changing. We never call reform. The reform word is wrong. We don't say earlier Shastra was wrong and now you say he killed Shambhuka, it is wrong, therefore we correct it. We condemn Rama's killing of Shambhuka. This is called reform. Why do you have to condemn? We say clearly Rama applied it for that situation and then this situation is different. Naturally, automatically it doesn't apply. When Narada told that it is applicable to this situation, this social condition, automatically it doesn't apply. Why do you have to condemn it and reform it? What does this condemnation reforming mean? This condemnation reforming is meaningless. Because we are bodily interpreting, bodily applying their situation for us. There is Abraham ideas for us. It's a condemnation and reform. Why condemnation and reform? I don't understand. Condemnation means you think it is wrong. But see, there in that context it was dharma. Because a person who is supposed, see, everybody is given some rules. It is something like we are supposed to follow lockdown. And it is a tentative rule. It is not that after 1 month, after 15 days, 20 days, once lockdown is lifted, if you unnecessarily, if somebody, whoever comes onto the street, if he is arrested, beaten, that's wrong. But it is for this 15, 20 days or 1 month, this is a, lockdown is a law. It's a tentative law. But in this tentative law, if you come out, it is a punishable law. Now how do you, then after 1 month, we condemn this, coming out is a freedom. Why should be punished? This is ridiculous. The law is applicable to only few days. Then that is equally law. After the days are passed, then it is a no law. See, why don't you understand this thing? I think, do we need very great wisdom to understand these simple things? Because we are brainwashed with the European thinking. Dharma, Desha, Kala, why don't we see? Therefore, he told, when all people follow psychologically, there is a collective consciousness. One fellow extremely rebels. See, all varnas are equally given opportunity to go to heaven. There is a sadhana. You can follow. When everybody is given a sadhana to follow it, why do you want to do extremely following against the social structure? Then if once you do, seeing you other people do it, then other people do it, then the whole structure becomes uncontrollable. This is what is happening now. Even government is unable to do. Hindus are abusing it. Why these lies for this lockdown lie only for Hindus? Why not apply for them? If you start applying them, they also want to do deliberately. If 1 or 2% can be arrested, they say hundreds and thousands we do. What can you do? It will be like a massacre of hundreds and thousands of people. You won't do. For thousands you won't do. Then what can you do? You will be helplessly watching. Hindus will be angry. Why imposing on us? This is what creating a failure of law. That you cannot apply the law. But if you give freedom, people will die in large numbers. If you say, if you lift the law, okay, no lockdown, everybody will go. There is a problem. If you apply, there will be a large number of people disobey it. What will you do now? Is it not a delicate situation? Now, does it not warrant killing or not? Oh my God, for such a small thing he did the tapas, you go and kill him. Then people say, Okay, he must have, that Shambhuka must have committed a mistake. Then does he warrant such a big punishment of killing only? Now what else you imagine for these Tabligis fellows? They're killing people. Now only everybody is suffering. People died. Already so few people died because of this thing. We only just leave them. If you don't kill them, then what is happening then? If you don't restrict them, if you don't punish them, they have already killed few people. They have infected. Out of those infected, because of their stamina, their luck, because they got treated and some of them are saved, some of them died also. Now what will you do for that? Naturally, they deserve to be killed. We don't kill because we have got a pervert law here. And seeing this pervert law, double standard law, we start judging Rama was wrong. Rama wanted to prevent this kind of a law. See, this is a breaking of law. Now we are not able to apply any law. If you apply the law is a problem. If you don't apply the law is a problem. If you start killing the people, then the people will be killed in large number. They are creating a chaos. No law at all. Then do you want Rama to follow this thing? And is it not a wisdom on the part of Rama that he has to kill one person and maintain the whole law? I think Hindus need independent thinking. If there is a mistake, Valmiki himself openly says, we don't have to hide. Or Vyasa says openly. Wherever Yudhishthira committed mistake, Vyasa clearly says, this is what Yudhishthira did the mistake. Openly say. Why do we have to hide? In fact, we are openly telling, we are making the listeners wise. If I say that this is wrong, by telling that it is wrong, I am making you wiser. By hiding it, can I give you wisdom? By hiding the mistakes, by telling you what right as a wrong and wrong as a right, will I make you wiser? We learn mistakes from the Rama, mistakes of Rama, mistakes of Lakshmana, mistakes of Dasharatha. We learn from the mistakes. Dharma doesn't flow from Rama's behavior. There is a Dharma independently, then Rama happened to follow that Dharma, therefore he is a great. This you note it. Dharma doesn't flow from Rama's behavior. First Dharma is a Dharma. Then the Rama, since Rama followed that Dharma, therefore he is a great man. But unlike the Abrahamic religions, whatever they did, that is Dharma. Don't question, because that is standard of Dharma. Now you are taking, what Hindus are doing is taking a general standard of Dharma, trying to evaluate Prophet Muhammad and then the Jesus. They get angry. You note it. You talk to a Muslim, they will be terribly angry. You are taking another standard and judging our Prophet Muhammad. Whatever Prophet Muhammad did, because whatever he did being inspired by Allah, he did it. That is standard, that is law. You take a common sense law and then judge it as it is a human law. What you are taking is a human standard and judging us. What you followed is divine law. Your human law doesn't apply to our divine law. We believe our Allah told that coronavirus doesn't infect us. We are following divine law. You are trying to implement your government constitutional law. No police, no constitution, no government has control over us. We are divine law. Do we say like that? Do our Shastras say like that? No. Our Shastras don't say that. First law, and then Rama followed, Krishna followed. Then if Rama, Krishna didn't follow, then we say it is an exceptional law. Okay. Now I just say the principle and then tell you in Sita repudiation. I think probably tomorrow I will say. There I will explain this thing. For that I am telling you the principle now. Some place Sita, rejecting Sita is an exceptional case of Rama. Don't say that people are generalizing it. Everybody should start rejecting his wife like that. That I'll tell you. Rama went out of the way in rejecting Sita just to uphold the law. Just to uphold one law. It is because he is a king, he is an exceptional case. He is not a common man. A king, when there is a suspicion, he has to follow. And supposing a minister, a cabinet minister, there is a central cabinet minister, there is an accusation. Generally, the prime minister says you resign until the inquiry is completed. After inquiry is completed, you can again be reinstated. Otherwise, if he continues in the minister, he may try to manipulate it. Therefore, though the minister and the prime minister himself believes it is a false accusation, just for sake of the society, he has to resign for some time. Then the inquiry is complete. Then he can because there is a moral strength. Similarly, Rama wanted to reject Sita there because he wanted to uphold the moral law. When people start suspecting, what can you do? You snub the people and continue. Say, I am in a peculiar situation of a king. Don't generalize it, though everybody should. Again, you are interpreting the same Abrahamic mind and imposing on us. It is a special case of Rama as a king. Even every king need not do. But Rama personally wanted to take extra, went out of the way. See His importance, he wants to give it to law for dharma. There you see. This is how you read the whole chapters, those 5 or 7 chapters of Sita repudiation context, repeatedly read the shlokas. You can see them, the underlying Valmiki. See, regarding Valmiki, you don't require much commentary. If you have a little open mind, you read whole Valmiki Ramayana repeatedly. Somewhere in one context, if you have a doubt about dharma in one context, somewhere in another story, somewhere in another event, Valmiki himself explains. I learnt from our Satchidanandendra Swamiji, let Shankara interpret Shankara. Similarly, I found, let Valmiki interpret Valmiki. We don't have to interpret. You see, let Valmiki interpret Valmiki. I can give you only based upon Valmiki shlokas. Somewhere for some event, if you have a doubt in dharma, you watch the entire shlokas. Somewhere in some shloka, a clue, a suggestion for this you will find elsewhere. You keep on watching all the shlokas. All entire shlokas put together. You look for, if you have got a doubt, don't jump to conclusion, wait. Even if you have a conclusion, keep it tentative. And then again watch Valmiki Ramayana second time, third time. You see, somewhere in some shloka, some explanation, some dharma sukshma Valmiki himself gives that you can apply in Sita's case. In Rama's case. So, Valmiki himself explains many places beautifully. I don't know why we have lost this wisdom. I feel more and more I read Valmiki, such a great wise man, such a wisdom. I think it is an incomparable, you will never find anywhere. I think tears come if you see the Valmiki, such a beautiful, with the concrete examples of our life, he explains the thing. You can see somewhere there alone. And go by common sense, don't compromise common sense. He will be explained in keeping, in harmony with common sense, in harmony with common sense logic. You don't have to compromise. With common sense logic. If it looks different from common sense logic, see, it is an exceptional case. It is a given case, a personal case. If the general case doesn't apply, look for an exceptional case. Then what is the exceptional situation? See it. Now this is exceptional. Because of this he has to do that. Then leave it. You understand it. That's all. This is the simple logic. This is the simple dharma. I don't know. I with the help of our traditional commentators and with the help of this Valmiki only I got it. With Valmiki as well as traditional Sanskrit commentators help you many places. Some places thinking that, oh, it is well known, they left them. They did not even comment. Some places their comments also look little far-fetched. You can give up. Some places. But another place they explain that will be useful to us. You have to just take it. If you go by the modern interpretation alone, creates a problem. I find, though I read a lot of English books, but somehow my mind is only about traditional books and traditional interpretation. I read a lot of English books, but I just read them superficially and leave them. I keep my heart in here alone. You'll get everything. All my explanations are based upon here alone. Traditional interpretations and Valmiki. You'll get everything here. Okay. So, I think I have explained sufficiently. I think shloka by shloka interpretations you want, that will take long time. And then it will explain certain other things and Vyakarana and then many other points. Therefore, Shambhukas, basic principle of Shambhukas I have explained to you in these last 3 talks. I think I will go to the Sita's repudiation, that Agni Pariksha time. There I shall explain. There also I won't read every shloka, important shlokas I may read and explain the basic vision, basic way of understanding the dharma involved in. I think this is clear. If you have any other doubt, either our modern people raise, or if you have, you can just briefly tell me, and then somewhere in writing or somewhere, I shall, even on Shambhuka story also, to the extent I understand, I try to explain. I can't say I am Sarvajna, but whatever I know, whatever I can understand, I try to explain. Okay, we'll go tomorrow to next to that repudiation and Sita Parityaga in Uttarakanda. I think these 3 events alone I will explain, and then other things I think we may explain sometime later. Only these 3 will explain, then go to Adhyasa Bhashya because our main class was Adhyasa Bhashya. Okay, these doubts came, again and again come. I told Rama that I can give, I don't know why, again and again they are misinterpreting. Then Rama told Swamiji, you suspend Adhyasa Bhashya and give few classes, 4 or 5 classes, clarifying this point, because this has been hanging a confusion to everybody. Okay. I don't know whether I can explain perfectly, but whatever extent I understand with the help of Valmiki and our traditional commentators, I just gave you. Okay? Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Tat Sat.